Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. Oh, I wrote hin, everyone. Yeah. Feel welcome to ask any questions and share any comments that you have. Hi, Nazi. So nice to see you. We are, for those of you who've been meeting with me for the last, few years, we've been doing this now on Zoom. The truth is Zoom has just become really managing the whole group through Zoom and trying to get all the videos edited and uploaded for people who couldn't be there live. I get so many emails every week, where's the videos? Where this way, at least, like for people who can't join us live, the video's there. And I'll add the shorter, like good moments, but it takes a little pressure off my back and takes a little frustration away from you all. So hello, welcome. It's so good for me. It's a real relief to be here. And we'll meet pretty much Wednesdays, mostly to hear what the librarians of the Akashic Records have to share with us. So just now, oh, hi, Shelley, while we're waiting for everyone to join us. What I'd like to do is talk to you about, and I'm not quite sure why, but the librarians told me to share this, and they always have a reason. Some of you know, Kim and I make our occasional paranormal revolution videos where we go out and do a little, I guess you call it ghost hunting, but since she is a psychic medium and I see, spirits from other dimensions and people's past lives, we're a little less like stereotypical ghost hunters and a little more exploring things from a curious perspective. And so we're working on some material for that we'll share here on YouTube. And so Kim sent me some videos of some haunted stuff. I downloaded them to my computer and my hard drive fried. My hard drive completely fried. Not only that, but everything that I had in the cloud drive also disappeared out of the folders at the same time. So I lost a lot of work, plus my very expensive laptop dead. Luckily, it was still under warranty. So I'm going through the process of dealing with all of that. And now I have two laptops. One is only for Paranormal Revolution, and one is for everything else I do. And I don't just save on the cloud drive. I save everything on an external hard drive as well as cloud drive. Because when you're dealing with all of these frequencies and other dimensions, things happen. So one of the things that I lost so much. And some of it I've been able to find or cobble together, and other stuff, I'm like, if it's meant to be reshared, it will come through. But one of the things that I lost was the book that I've been working on, Harness Your Inner Fire. I lost like 90% of the chapters, and I was about pretty far into it. So I'm trying to recreate the book. And the librarians thought that if I started sharing the book with you, then that will help with this coming together. So Harness Your Inner Fire. I want to talk to you about the process of writing this book because it fits in with some of the work that we're all doing together. This is a book about self-empowerment and connection of self to self within, self your soul, self the collective of all there is. When you think about it, if we are all born from source, divine love, pure love, divine light, the creation of all through love, then, just like the librarians say, we are all siblings because we all come from the same birthing place, birthing God, birthing source, birthing grounds, whatever you're comfortable with. And in the book that I'm writing, the central characters are actually two of my past lives. And in a way, I'm a little jealous because they're like way more interesting than I am. There's Durmata and Doa. And Durmata came to life to create great healing, but he messed up and instead created great harm. He did some terrible, terrible things. And he was not a nice guy. He was really, really not. Like, he's not someone any of us would ever want to socialize with, which is rough for me because he is me. So when we die, the first thing you do when you die really is you have a life review. You look at the life you lived. You look at the life you planned. You look at, did you learn the lessons you were here to learn? If you went off your life path, did you find your way back to it? Did you go way off your life path, but you learned other good lessons? Or did you go way off your life path and create havoc and harm to others? You really do an analysis. And it's not one where there's any moral judgment of you were good, you were bad. There's no grades in this. It's really to look at what has been accomplished and what needs to be continued. If there is a karmic challenge that you would not finish, then you'll need to finish it later, outside of life or in the next life. If there's a karmic challenge you wrapped up, but there was a little bit hanging, you're like, oh, ignore that little part, then you'll have to learn that. No matter what. And not every karmic challenge is a one life challenge. Sometimes an aspect of a karmic challenge will be for one life, and a different aspect will be for another life. So it's not always, a cut and dry situation. So Durmata was brought to life to create great good. And he went the opposite way. He caused so much trouble for so many people. And as a result, after death, he had to work really, really hard to rebalance what happened. He had to go, and it's sort of like when someone joins AA, he had to do, in a way, atonements. He had to talk with the souls of those he had harmed to find out, like, did they learn a different lesson? Like, okay, I messed up their life path, but did they learn something else? Was it a valuable life? If not, what can I do to help set things right? Now, here's the thing. When we're out of life, we know that there's a certain amount of people who are going to be born to create goodness and a certain amount born to create mischief. You're like, oh, in this life, I'm going to suffer. Oh, in this life, I'm just going to be a jerk. Oh, in this life, I'm going to be pure delight. In this life, I'll be very depressed. Now, that's not saying everything that happens was planned. You may plan on having a happy life and instead you have a depressed life because really depressing things happen, or your biochemistry is not what you expected it to be. So things don't always go as planned. But so when we're out of life and our souls are talking with each other in our lives, there is no judgment. There's only a lot of compassion and value and appreciation. And, some goofing around and stuff. Like, we have a lot of fun up there too. So when Durmata, afterlife, went and met with the thousands and thousands and thousands of people he had messed up, he did his best to put things to right. And they all worked with him to help him because they wanted to help him put himself to right as much as have him help them put things to right. Or they're like, no, it's okay, I got it. Or, however, but everyone worked in harmony. But Durmata had so gone off his life path. He had been so horrible that he did something that's rarely happened. He decided to reincarnate himself which now our souls reincarnate and come down to life. So like I'm one aspect of my soul. Each of you are one aspect of your soul. When you're done with this life, you return to your soul, but you're still yourself. For the rest of eternity, each of us will exist, unless we choose to do something else. And so our souls are like a collective of all the energy of the soul and all the energy waiting to be lives and all the energy of lives that have been lived. So it's not like these aspects of self generally reincarnate. It's usually a fresh aspect of your soul that will go to life. For Durmata to say, I would like to return to life, it's a big deal. It means that he was willing to sacrifice his concept of self so that he could evolve to a greater aspect of being. It was a big admission of failure, actually, that he spent thousands of years, could not right the wrong, could not make things right despite his efforts. So he came back to life as Doa, who was truly the most good, kind person you could imagine. Now, Durmata and Doa are separate. It's almost like a single element became twins. But when Doa was in life, Durmata was there. And when Doa finished life, the two of them split into two. So now Durmata has absorbed Doa's goodness of being. And Doa, she's just a sweetheart. She's amazing. And the two of them have continued together for the next few thousand years to do whatever it is our aspects of self do after they die, continuing their lessons, growing, evolving, working with the collective of the soul, visiting other dimensions, whatever. And in this life, I contracted at the start of this life to help the two of them to complete their mission, complete the process so that Durmata could become karmically clean. So he's been working 5,000 years for this. And now he's like karmically clean. And it creates a beautiful resonance in the human collective that he has found a place to be good. No more remorse, self-loathing, anger, triggered emotions. And Durmata serves as a reminder to all of us who think we're not worthy of being pure, we're not good enough for this, we're not this enough, we're not that enough, that we all are enough. We are each of us enough, that we are each of us wonderful and amazing, that each of us is an aspect of a brilliant soul who was born from pure love and craves a multitude of adventure to give dimension to self. Eventually, when the life experience is done, we return to source. Like eventually the entire human collective will return to source, along with the angelic collective, with all the collectives. Eventually, with all of our depth and breadth, and we'll become like one great collective. That's a long way off. Don't worry, not going to happen tomorrow. So the librarians wanted me to share this with you. The book that I'm writing is not just about Durmata's autobiography and Doa's autobiography as they share with me, but it's also about the skills that they have learned that they share with us on how to grow our spirit, grow our souls. So I'm really excited about this. Okay, so if anyone has any comments or questions, feel welcome to type them in. Okay, so the librarians are here. I've had a very bureaucratic week. I've spent my week in a lot of meetings, doing a lot of paperwork. So to be honest, it's been a little emotionally demoralizing week because bureaucratic paperwork and long corporate meetings, not my favorite. So I don't have it within me to really be the conduit tonight. That requires that I have my time for self-care and meditation, and I'm very open and flowing, and I have myself aligned enough that I can step out of my body and hold the space for someone or someone's to come in. But the librarians are here, and they want to talk for a moment about what's happening on our planet. And they're saying, okay, you know, when you have something that happens in your life that, oh, thanks about my book. Well, I'll talk a little more about it when I'm after the librarian's message. Thank you. When you have something that happens in your life and you're not sure, like, is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Am I the good guy? Am I the bad guy? You know, how should this work? You know, what's going on? They say, take it out of proportion. Take it up to, like, if it was two nations, how would it be? Two large groups, how would you perceive it? And then you'll go, oh, wait, no, I wasn't sure if I was being too sensitive, but when I expand the concept to two groups, I realize I'm being bullied or I'm being abused or, oh, I'm being kind of snarky or whatever. It takes it away. And they're saying at the same time, when you look at what's happening on the planet and you feel overwhelmed by all these global issues, bring it down to the personal level. And how would it be for you? How would you resolve it? How would you support yourself if you were, and you can put yourself in the different situations, if it were you and your friends. And then they'd say your emotional response should be the one that allows you to take positive action. So if you're overwhelmed to the point of being dysfunctional by what's happening in our planet, I mean, I certainly sometimes am. They say, bring it down to if it was acquaintances and what actions would you take? What emotions would you have? And they say, find the actions that support your emotions to become, you know, at peace with self. And that should be the emotional connection to what's happening. But then if you need to take action, find whatever action supports you to feel this way. You know, certainly I personally am donating a lot of money towards the zoo care over in the Ukraine, you know, the animals. Because there are some zoos there and animal sanctuaries where the animals are terrified. They don't know what's going on and they're having trouble supporting them and taking care of them. So that's where I find myself spending the majority of my resources. And, you know, finding other ways to take action. I know if I can't take action to help directly in this place, I can take action that helps, like, my neighborhood or helps my friends or helps my family, and I go forward. I personally need to take action or I feel stopped. So I do take action. If what's distressing me is like war, you know, I mean, it's not war, it's like genocide, Russia doing genocide in Ukraine. If that makes me feel paralyzed, then I take actions to things that help me feel forward. And Oh, hi, hello, Lale from Germany. So lovely of you to join us. So, so the point of this is not to have a political rant, because certainly everything that I just said can be held true to global climate change, to economic issues, to COVID-19, to whatever. It's whatever is stopping you. Bring it to an area where you can deal with it without being overwhelmed. And then take actions, whatever actions work for you. We're each unique individuals that allow you to go forward with your life and not feel stopped. The librarians say this is very important. One reason they wanted me to talk about Durmata is they said there's no difference between Durmata and what we call the Atlantean race. And just a little disclaimer, of course, they were the great ones who were here before humans. And it wasn't, I mean, some of you have seen my whole video on Atlantis and how that's actually a volcanic activity on the island of Santorini. It wasn't a race of divine beings that went to the bottom of the ocean. But there were brilliant beings that were here before us. And they were a huge disaster. And the librarians say the problem was arrogance. They were too arrogant. They were too brilliant and too skilled, too beautiful, too powerful. And they destroyed themselves. So then along came us through evolution, as opposed to brought over by angels. And along came us through evolution. And we're kind of following that same path. But, humanity overarching, not us who are here with me tonight. Lale said, yesterday I was able to bring some stuff to a person that was collecting for Ukraine. It's so heartbreaking. You see, that's action. That's action. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. But when we bring it down to the individual, like Durmata, he was possibly the most arrogant person who ever lived. And I say that because he's so arrogant, he would make that claim. And even now that he's karmically clean, the guy's a bit cocky, for sure, a bit arrogant. And even he managed to find a way to balance himself. So yes, humanity, we can find a way to balance ourselves. And the human collective can find a way to balance ourselves. Our planet can find a way to balance itself. It can happen, but it doesn't happen if we are overwhelmed and stopped. We must go forward. Any action, even if you think it's insignificant, it's tiny, any action that takes us forward is a part of the forward energy, and it helps, it connects with the other forward energy. What was it? I was reading an article. There was a fellow who years ago, and it's so bad, I don't remember who, but he's gone on to become a big film and Broadway star. But he wanted to see a Broadway show, and someone snuck him in to like the backstage, kind of watch from the wings. And this other fellow saw him and saw how he was entranced by it and said, here's some money, buy a ticket and sit. I don't remember if it was that show. I think it was another show, and sit in the audience and watch. And so this fellow did. And that's when he knew, I must become an actor. And luckily he was very skilled and talented, and he became a big star. And then years later, this guy's a big star. He discovered the name of the man who gave him the money, spontaneously gave him money to buy a Broadway show ticket. And he contacted him, and the two of them have become friends. But one of the things that had happened with this big star is, as he was earning money and getting fame, he realized he needed to give back. So he set up a foundation to send people to Broadway shows. He would do fundraisers, get together money, and all the money raised would send young people like high school students or whatever to go see Broadway shows. So he told this man, you know, because of you, I became everything I am. Plus, now we've helped thousands of people see Broadway shows, all because of the one little kindness that you did for me. So understand, don't dismiss your small acts of energy forward, because you don't know what you can start. You don't know. It can be amazing. And Nazi says the librarians are helping us to navigate from where we are to where they are in the future. Yes, the path is called love and kindness. One can speed up the evolution by embodying the path of love. This is true. When the librarians speak to us, they don't think of time as linear the way we do. They are speaking to us from the future. And to them, it's just like little places on a map, you know, or a path. Like we're here on the path, they're here on the path. They're like, come directly to us. And we're like wandering off into the weeds, going off into the thorns, getting stuck in the swamp. And they're trying very hard to get us to go directly to them, to the future that they are promising us is waiting for us. And it is a beautiful future where humanity is living through the state of love, where we are like embodying all that is best within each of us. Just so gorgeous there. So the lesson they want to share tonight is don't get bogged down. Certainly acknowledge your emotions and honor them. Value everything that happens within you. Don't repress them. Oh, you're not energy forward. I'm going to deny you and push you down and wait till you turn to stomach ulcers. No. Be honest with yourself. Acknowledge what's going on. Honor every part of your being. Even if it's not a part you want to have with you, if it is with you, honor it. And take your path forward. Take your path forward towards what you want, towards where you want to go, how you want to live, what energy you want to put out there, and let that dictate your reality. Let that take you forward. So Durmata, when the librarians are saying, share this first chapter. Durmata was Hindu. He was born 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. He was born to fairly poor family, and but they were good people, and they shined with love. And when Durmata was born, he radiated energy. Like everyone who looked at him could see this is a special baby. This is a blessed child. This child has gifts. And his family loved him. Everyone loved him. Everyone just adored him. He had such brilliant shining light. And when he touched you, it would heal you. Even as an infant, if you had a cut on your hand, he would touch it and it would heal. If you felt bad, just basking in his energy made you feel good. He was just the bright, shining light. His parents loved him so much, and they knew, because he was so special, that he had to be taken to a monastery where he could be raised to really grow to his very best. So when he was very young, like I think 5 or 6, very young, maybe 8, but I think 5 or 6, very young, his parents traveled. It was a long journey on foot. It took them 3 days. And they reached this monastery where the head monk was waiting for Durmata. This had been arranged. And oh, his mother was like so proud and so heartbroken and so full of love and so full of sorrow. And the tears were streaming down her face as she held her sweet boy and covered him in kisses and begged him to kiss her face and her hands in response, telling him how much she loved him and how happy he would be that he would learn how to really use his potential. And its father stood strong, but also tears just pouring down his face into his beard, soaking his shirt. And it broke their heart to do what was best for their son because he was such a gift. He was too special for them to greedily hold on to. They had to give him to the place where he could bloom. Durmada was so happy to get away from his parents. He loathed his parents. He had no respect or appreciation. When he looked at them, he saw only the stupidest of simple peasants. He was a very arrogant child. He was so brilliant and so arrogant. And he looked down his nose at all these peasants. People of all ages and rank would come to him to bask in his light because he thought they were too stupid to know how to turn on their own light. He had no respect for his village, nor anyone within the village. He was so happy to get away from there and go to this monastery where he could learn everything to become the most powerful person. His teacher, the monk, I don't remember his name, it's Falcon, translates to Falcon. He saw all of this. He was very wise, very learned, very holy. He saw everyone's energy, everyone's emotions. He was very empathic and telepathic, but it was so energetically loud. He couldn't help but watch it. And he saw everything. And he knew that this was going to be his great challenge, to teach this brilliant young child humility so he truly could reach his potential, to teach him to set aside the arrogance so that that space could open for power, the real power, which comes from love and connection through mandalas, through grids, networks, through being one with the others around you and shining together with everyone sharing what is most brilliant of themselves with everyone else to light up that energy and have a collective set of resources. He knew, the teacher knew that this young child was going to be his greatest challenge yet. As they walked in through the gates, and Durmada's mother was saying, "We will come visit you every month." Durmada turned to her and said, "It's not necessary. You never need to see me again." And as the gate closed, that was the last he ever saw of his parents. They came to visit, and he refused their visits. He would not go to them. He had no more use for them. He said they served their purpose. They spawned the greatest being of all creation, and now they have no purpose. So what need I for them? He did not learn humility, and he caused a lot of trouble. So it's such a specific story of such a young individual child. But I think each of us, as we go through our lives, we meet people who are like this Durmada, who put their priorities, their interests ahead of the well-being of others, who only wish to see reality from their perspective. We see it happening in our world today among nations. But what is interesting to me is in the end of every one of these stories, love triumphs. Durmata spent 5 or 6 or 7,000 years trying to find his way to love. Because even this arrogant little guy, eventually he learned that there is no truth without love. And eventually, several thousand years after his death, he came back as a being of pure love, Doa, who's the most kind, loving person I've ever met. I love visiting with her. I hate visiting with Durmata at his time. I absolutely hate it because he's awful. When he comes to me in my time and visits with me, I can handle it because now he's his evolved self. But when he takes me back to his time, it is awful. I'm like, I don't like going back there at all. Doa, on the other hand, she will visit with me mostly if I'm in a very beautiful sacred place. She loves joining me when I'm at like spirit shops or, pre-COVID at metaphysical conferences and things like that, conventions. But usually we meet in that wonderful place where my extended imagination overlaps with her daily life. And I can join her in this gorgeous cave on a mountaintop in Thailand. She had a home down in the village, but she spent most of her time up on the mountain in this cave that it had a very wide mouth and a fire pit in the mouth so that the smoke would blow out. But there were tapestries and cushions, and it was such a comfortable cave. There was a beautiful altar for prayer. When you went to the back of the cave, it opened to caverns. Caverns you could explore for hours and days if you had the courage. People had known that these caverns were sacred for centuries and centuries upon centuries. And she was the blessed keeper of this place. There was a meadow in front of her cave, a large meadow, and it was up on the mountaintop, so it's a gently sloping, terraced meadow. And Doa put out such good, kind energy that no harm ever befell anyone when they were close to her cave. So often, especially in spring and summer, the mothers and the mother animals and their babies would stay in the pasture where they could eat and play, and the mothers could nourish their children of all kinds of species of animals, and no predators would disturb them. You may even have predators with their babies and prey with their babies, but there was such goodness here that there was never any hunting or killing or animosity. For Doa, who had once been Durmata, was truly at peace, truly in the state of love at all times. And this energy spread. It spread. So the book I'm writing is truly about Durmata's life and Doa's life, the lessons they've learned, and why they're returning to join me at this time with self-healing, with connecting with our soul, healing the connections between us and our soul, so we may be open to be the empowerment that comes from becoming one with our total state, and healing the planet, helping the planet find its path forward to love. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Thank you for this comment. I don't have my glasses on, so I must look a little silly when I'm reading, but thank you. I'm so glad you came upon our planet too. Uda Might. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but oh my word, it's so beautiful to read. Thank you. So you all, tonight I'm not doing direct channeling, but I am sharing with you the work that the librarians and I are working on together. They're helping me with this book. I need their help, especially because when I write channeled books, like when I wrote How Jesus Planned His Life, it was kind of easy for me because all I would do was open myself up, leave my body, let Jesus come into my body, and then he would type. He would type and type and type, or he would speak. He loved like just speaking on the recording, and then I'd have the recording, I'd transcribe the recording, I'd go in and edit it. But there were times when he would be in my body typing and typing and typing his story, and I would be outside standing behind my right shoulder reading the computer screen of what he was writing while he's typing. And he's so funny because he kind of talks to himself when he's writing. So he's like, they're going to love this. Oh, this is good stuff, and then once in a while he'd get like a little, like he wasn't sure how to write something. So he'd pull me back into the body. I'd clean it up, do a little editing. Then he'd push me back out and he'd take over. It was quite the experience. And the same when I, write about what the Akashic Librarians share, it's the same thing. They come in, they take over, they speak, and then I, transcribe it. But with Duamata and Doa, when they try to come into my body, they were me. So it's like me trying to come into my body. It becomes really kind of schizophrenic. What happened to me is, and there may be a way for this to happen, but I've been working with them now for like 4 or 5 years, and we still haven't quite gotten it worked out. But what will happen is like Duamata will come into my body and start dictating. And the next thing you know, I'm in his past with him. Like when you're going through a past life regression, and I don't want to be in his life with him because he was awful. So it's not a pleasant experience for me. So I go into a state of denial. No, I don't want to be here. But then his story can't come out. So he and I get into an argument. Or like, if you're watching the movie and you start screaming at the screen, like, things like, no, don't open the door, or, things like that. I start screaming to everyone in his life, get away from him. He's terrible, which, of course, no one pays any attention to me. They don't even know I'm there. So then he'll try to come into my body and stay here, but all the time it pulls me back to his life, and then I'm like, okay, you take over and you just type. But then I'm like still in my head. I don't vacate because he's me in my head. And with Doa, she loves coming in. She'll take over and she'll write. But she has this rather parabolic way of speaking that then when I show people, what do you think of this? They'll go, it needs a little transcribing for the modern audience. And then she gets upset with me. She's like, oh, stupid girl, if none of you people understand it, then why am I sharing my brilliant lessons? So I need her to sort of tell me what she wants to say. And then she gets upset with me. So what's best is if I tell their story. So instead of them being their autobiography, instead of it being autobiographical, it's biographical with me sharing their stories. That's a very different experience for me because it requires me to actually be the author. And I'm not an author, I'm a channel. So we've been working a few years and we finally got the book to great shape when downloading Kim's ghosts fried the whole thing. So we're starting over. Hopefully this time it'll be better. However, I do understand why the librarians feel this story needs to be shared. This is the time for each of us to know. If Doa can create beautiful space where no harm occurs to anyone, wherever she is, and Trust me, she did a lot of amazing stuff. This woman, you're going to be, it is unbelievable. Like, I can't believe what she did. And she was me. Each of us then, we have it within us. We have the power and the ability to create our space. It begins with pure love in the core of us, and letting that pure love grow and grow and grow. And wherever the pure love finds area of like self-loathing, embarrassment, anger, depression, anxiety, whatever, then there needs to be, appreciation of that part. And you can still be embarrassed, but filled with love. Or if you wish to cling to these, because maybe there's still a karmic lesson in process, they can still become part of your greater love. If they're part of a lesson that you need to resolve it. If they're a lesson that was resolved, but just sitting around cluttering you up, declutter. The more we fill ourselves with love for whom we are, what we are, the more we are empowered to affect the change, to help our planet become the ultimate earth of love. We, each of us, have this power. It starts with faith in self and appreciation. So the librarians are here. This was the lesson they wanted to share. Yes, they feel they would have shared it better than I did, but next week, join us here on the Bonita Woods YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the librarians will come through. And do Domata and Doa meet in you? Yes, they do. They're like almost like twins in a way. And Domata has been working really, really hard to become his best self. As we go forward, I'll share with you what it's like to go from being the darkest, meanest person, but so powerful. Those Hindus, especially those ancient Hindus, they had skills and abilities that you only think about in like fantasy books. He once built an entire castle, like a palace, through just using his mind. All of the elements came and built for him. He had the ability to change his appearance so that he could look like a man, a woman, young, old, whatever. He was able to be a shapeshifter. He could become animals if he wanted. He had the ability to walk the mandalas, walk the ley lines and the mandalas of our planet and travel along them. Like, this guy had mad skills. He just was lacking goodness. But now he's got goodness and he's got all these skills and he is anxious to teach them. That's why he's working with the librarians now, so that he can become a teacher of skills for goodness. So yes, Doa, as she says, she always had great love and appreciation for Domata, if not for all that he had done and how much remorse he had. She would not even have existed. Her goodness was born through his lamenting of his terribleness. So we would not have Doa if Domata had not have been such a skunk. So there we go. Yes, they know each other's history, and Domata and Doa are very close. He spends a great deal of time with her in her cave, learning balance and harmony from her. Right. Well, that's it for tonight. Please feel welcome to join us every Wednesday night. And if you want to speak directly to the librarians, join our Akashic Adventures group, which now it's once a month. Hopefully, as I regain my strength and ability, we can meet more often than that. We meet on a Zoom so that people can talk directly with the librarians, have conversations, ask questions. If you want to talk about, should I take a promotion or how do I help heal the planet? They love it all. They love it all, and they have very interesting responses. I'll put the link here in the comments for anyone who wants to join us. It's only $20 a month. It's $20 a month, and we meet like once or twice a month. So thank you all. Thank you. Have a wonderful night. And next week, I promise I'll be in good alignment. The librarians will be here. Take care, everyone.